Bonsoir, friends, and welcome back to the Nerdrotic Podcast. My name is Gary Buechler. I'm coming to you live from San Francisco, California, and I come to you from nerdrotic.com, and I am with my co-host Dennis Bithoulkas in San Diego, California. What is up, Dennis?
Bum sewer.
Hello, friend.
We were just talking about Daffy Duck.
Yes.
Speaking French.
Oh, man.
Bum
Okay.
sewer.
Bonsoir.
I'm doing good, by the way.
That's good. We are talking about Mr. Robot, episode 2, season 3, undo.gz or whatever. You know, that was the kind of the problem. I wasn't sure how to title these episodes on YouTube. I'm like, do I want to do it literally like they do? Because they do it like some kind of hacker code.
It's actually, it's lines of code is what
it's lines of code. And it's like, nah. I'll just stick with the undo. I don't know if anybody will find it, or I don't know how people find us now. And I'm just grateful they do. So, man, what a great episode. Spoiler warning. We liked it. It was a roller coaster. This one, it started out so fun. It was kind of like a little bit like that 90s episode that started out like just really funny and fun. And that's the weird way of this show giving us levity. It's still dark as hell.
Yeah,
but
very dark. I mean, you got to remember, you basically are in the collapse of a civilization right now on this show, and it's a very slow. I think that's one thing I kind of like about it. It is fairly realistic that it's going to crash and burn all at once like that. It's going to go slow, like it's doing in this one, where it's just bits and pieces. And that's kind of the frightening thing about it. You know, it's showing it very realistically.
It wouldn't be just some big, Night of the Comet zombie apocalypse situation. You're absolutely right. And what sells it in this show is you have this full world. You feel like it feels real. Packed streets, the details in the background. I mean, and the writing, I know we talked about it last podcast, but man, it's beyond television. I mean, this is why, movies are taking it in the shorts right now. And there's a lot of reasons, but this is one of them. Is in the fight for survival, television has been forced to get way more sophisticated. And this is what happens when you're forced to do something creative, kind of like when you give some creators a small movie budget and then they come out with like a Matrix or something like that. It's something wonderful. Or Sam Raimi's first Spider-Man, was on a $50 million budget. You get cool stuff. Ash vs. Evil Dead doesn't have the biggest budget in the world, but it's amazing.
Iron Man, the very first Iron Man. And this show it's growing into be one of my favorite shows, and it's one of the most intelligent shows, and not like in a snobby, like I think I'm smarter because I watch it. Because if anybody thinks you're smart for watching something, yeah, I know you just don't get it, Rick and Morty. But no, just kidding. But yeah, everyone sees something different in the show, and that's what's good about it. And the thing is, nobody's wrong, because it could be anything at this point.
Yeah, there's so many great theories out there, and like, who the F knows? And they're giving us little morsels now, which is great. We're at season 3 where they need to start doing that. But what a great beginning. The In Excess song, New Sensation, and Elliott's, feeling like he's in control. And we know, and now we've watched the show long enough now that anytime Elliot starts getting a little cocky, we know something bad is about to happen.
Yeah.
And Elliot, go on.
He's trying to do the undo button. Basically, he's trying to undo what he's done by working for Evil Corps and undoing this mess. And one of the things that he wants to do is he wants to stop phase 2 from happening, which phase 2, by the way, is destroying all of the paper copies of all the all the data that is out there. And he comes up with a plan of going in and having all that paper data transferred over to digital and dispersed in different places. So it's not just dispersed in one area where the Dark Army is going to go and destroy it.
And this is a giant inside job, by the way, too, that Evil Corp is in on, and the Dark Army is in on. That's why they're taking from their 17 locations and putting them all into one. and this is all to start a new currency. But there's also something else, and also that China gets the Congo
The Congo.
annexed to them,
Yeah.
and the UN. By the way, I'm not entirely sure the UN can do that, but in this world with all this crap going down, maybe they got some special rules. I have no idea, but we don't know what China wants with the Congo. They kind of,
Yeah, it's very weird.
yeah, that's, but it's again, in this world, it's believable with the way things are happening. It's something, that I can accept. So
plus, I mean, that was the other thing too, is that Sam Schmale throws in a lot of topical things, and you can tell they actually put stuff in at the last minute. For example, Elliot's trying to promote his idea to his bosses, and his bosses are idiots for the most part. So he goes in, breaks into their emails and things like that, and finds out that they're corrupt. So the first boss, he finds out that he's selling customer data. He's basically got his people hacking people's phones and selling customer data off, who he turns over to the FBI. He gets arrested. The second one is cheating emission standard tests on cars. Sound familiar? Volkswagen? And he gets him arrested by the FBI.
Fiat too, by the way. Fiat
yes,
got busted for that too.
And there's actually quite a few. And once he gets his thing across, then he starts weeding out just the various crap people that are within eCore. And as he puts it, Ponzi schemers, retirement embezzlers, and finally the last one was sexual harassers, which I thought was, you could tell.
I think that was just luck, but I mean that's out there anyway. I mean that's good. No, that was good. No, I love that one guy was like, "Could you hurry up, Elliot? I got my Goo Goo Dolls are getting back together," and then the other one is, "I got my Soul Cycle to go do." But when I saw the list of bosses, I guessed that, it's the woman who's going to go for his idea. And, caught that one right. Just so I can guess some stuff. And it was pretty obvious that was going to go out, that the two idiots would be men. But, take what you can get there. So we got the new sensation in the background, and I love the head emojis in the bus.
Yes.
The guy with the little hungries, I'm hungry, that was really cool. And it got like an energy that's like it's not unlike anything in the show. It's like it was really upbeat and funny.
It was an 80s video. That's
yeah.
what they took this from an 80s video. And because the panning around from a single point of view, that's the Tom Petty video, where it's going around. And I saw where a lot of the influence was. It was actually very well done.
Oh, it was very well done. So last episode, Elliot, as we see him, he's working in Evil Corp, and he wanted to get a job in there so he could basically, like we said, undo everything about stage 2. But it looks like it's just playing into their plans. We didn't get we saw Angela walk by in a quick scene. There's no Angela, there's no Irving. We introduced our new character Irving, which I want to know more about, but we didn't get to see him. But we did get to see a couple other characters who haven't, we got the FBI agent, I'm forgetting her name right now, and we got Phillip Price back in, and Zang came back this episode,
and Derek,
and yes, and Derek, and
Johanna,
and Frank. That I don't know, is he Hannity or is he Alex Jones? I'm not sure. The
host, talk show host,
the conspiracy talk show host. So our theory from last episode that they planted it, and it's all over the internet, it's not something we thought up, is that we're dealing with multiple realities, and you're able to access them through the brain, basically, not physically walk through, or at least we don't think anyway. And that was just from a quick little spiel that in the nuclear power plant in the beginning of last episode, where a guy was just talking about how we could access multiple realities, and they're all happening at the same time. And then Dennis and I talked after the episode. We had kind of a light bulb moment with Zang
and White Rose,
and why she is so obsessed with time. And we hear Zang refer to it, but we see White Rose, like, we saw Zang with all the clocks before, and we've seen the women's clothing. but I guess we haven't seen him change into clothing. And my theory was that he's obsessed with time because he's only got a certain time to be in this world, maybe. And again, this is just a theory, and you could poke a million holes in it, but I'm just, going down the rabbit hole here. And maybe we're dealing with what Dennis said was two Zangs, possibly.
Yes, one is White Rose and one is Zang, and that's the reason why, I started theorizing that, okay, that's the reason why she's so obsessed with time down to the second, because she knows that she only has a certain amount of time in order to do what she needs to do, and she's actually the one who's controlling the Dark Army, and Zang is working with China. Two different entities that are working against each other, but it's the same person, just two different personalities.
Yeah, two different personalities, and we've got exactly, one body, multiple personalities. Same with Elliot, and that's when we started going down further. Like maybe Mr. Robot does exist in another reality. That maybe he's kind of evil, but he is Elliot's dad from maybe. Again, we're going deep down a rabbit hole that could be completely wrong. So sorry, but maybe Elliot's dad could be from and maybe Elliot died in another world, or maybe Elliot is dead. There's a million theories you can go here, and especially with this episode, and we'll get to it in a little bit, how Mr. Robot can't really come and go as he pleases now. And we referred back to the incident of him falling out the window. And let's not even bury the lead. Let's just get to that scene right now where Elliot is talking to the therapist, Krista, and she wants to talk to Mr. Robot. But before they do that, Elliot is thinking about making a snowman, and it's called Kevin McAllister from Home Alone. And Krista asked him, like, what made you think of that? And he's on. It was just a good time. And you see Elliot smiling, which is really disturbing. And he talks about
he was saying it was a time when he felt like he belonged. Him and his sister Darlene were, they had made this snowman. They're really into the movie for some reason, and that day had some kind of meaning. We don't know exactly what it was, just that, but before that he was saying that he never felt like he really belonged, but then this was a happy memory for him because he kind of faded out to that memory, and that's where we're coming back to. And so that's when Krista just asked, can I speak to Mr. Robot?
Well, remember, she also pointed out that she's like, you've never told me that story before. And he's all, oh, I could have sworn I have. And I'm pretty sure he has too. I don't know for sure, but you would think he would have brought it up in some therapy session. It was like a major point in his life. So I think that was a big red flag right there. So I'm starting to go further into this multiple reality thing.
Actually, you just brought up a good thing there, because remember, Mr. Robot says later on, he goes, he's remembering things that he shouldn't, that I remember, and vice versa. And then Elliot's saying later on, he goes, wait, when he's trying to think about what the plan was for stage 2, and he says, is this already happening? Have I stopped this? I can't remember. Wait, what's going on?
Yeah.
So yes, all this is happening at the same time, and they're basically, it's happening in both realities.
And we could be seeing both realities. So remember, we're dealing with our writer and our protagonist are not honest with us, but they've come out and said that they're not honest with us. And we saw a flashback of that scene. But that was just through maybe one Elliot's eyes, or maybe he just imagined. Yeah, that is trippy, dude.
That could also be the reason why he keeps asking us, are you still there with me, friend? Yep. Have you come back with me to this reality or this reality? That's the reason why he keeps asking that.
Well, and then the whole prison thing, I mean, that's the biggest thing is, is he either, he's either lying to us mentally, or there is other dimensions involved, I guess. I don't know. And I'm sure there's some viewers out there who are much, much smarter than us. And real quick, so we do these live now, and you are able to leave comments if there's anybody watching. And at the end of we'll respond to any of those at the end of the recap. So like, feel free to pop questions in, and we'll get to that at the end of the recap. That was good, Dennis. You know what? And that's why usually we like to watch these twice. Just didn't have time tonight to do it, but I can't wait to watch it again. Yeah, that is great. But so we had this really fun beginning of the episode. And we had that.
He even forgets his own birthday too. He forgets that his own birthday. He's like, oh yeah.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Yeah. And that's when he's with the therapist. She goes, oh, well, it's your birthday today. How, you doing anything special? And he's sitting there on the couch and you can hear his thoughts. He says, oh yeah, that's right. Damn it. I forgot. How did I forget that?
Oh, and during the therapy session, when I believe I even commented to you on Facebook when it was happening, when Mr. Robot was talking, there was a clock ticking in the background, like for music, but I was like, ooh, a clock ticking, and that's when Mr. Robot kind of shut down. Now I thought it was because she was probing a little too hard. And when Christian Slater was he was only in it for a little bit just during this therapy session, but he was great and creepy. I thought, as you thought, that I thought she was dead right there.
She was getting to know a little too much information that she wasn't supposed to know, and now she was meeting the mastermind behind a good majority of this information. And yeah, when he just kind of leans into her and we're not talking anymore. We're done.
Yeah. And she looks scared.
Yeah.
And she asked him his name, and he's always still calling me that, Mr. Robot.
What does he call me? What does Elliot call me? And that's when she says, Mr. Robot. He goes, oh, he's still calling me that?
Yeah. So, yeah. So, Johanna Wellick is back, and she has exonerated, or she has found a way to exonerate Ferrell from the murder charges. And now
by using her boyfriend Derek, because Derek is the one. Remember, we had this all set up at the end of season 2, where she was going to have Derek basically said, "Oh, I was bullied into saying that Ferrell was the one that went up onto the roof when it was actually her husband that went up on the roof and killed the CEO."
Yes,
wife,
CFO, I think he is, or
CFO. Yes. And so that has gone through now. And so now she has cleared, she got Tyrell cleared of those charges. And that's when we have her coming back from this TV interview. And she's being followed by Derek.
What is it with exes or boyfriends named Derek? I'm just thinking of The Tick, which we podcast about. You should totally check out if you haven't seen that show. It's great. Derek, I guess it's just a good douche name. Sorry to all the Dereks out there, but listen, my name is Gary, and that's another one of the douche Hollywood names.
And Dennis, don't forget that one.
Oh, Dennis. Always sunny in Philadelphia. Yeah.
And Sutherland, her bodyguard, ends up pulls Derek out of the car, beats the shit out of him, because Derek's like, you know what? She still loves me, but she's going back with him. I'm going to end this. I'm going to tell him all the truth. And basically Sutherland just says, you know what? If you say anything, we're going to kill you. And I'm not going to lose any sleep over it. And that's when Derek pulls out a gun, shoots Sutherland. And we have Johanna reaching over into the front, trying to grab Sutherland's gun. She gets it, but she gets shot in the head. Yeah,
blown away, man. And I did not see that one coming. And the baby's in the car the whole time. And then there's a splatter of blood on the baby's head, and I text you. I was like, this took a dark turn. Whoa. And then it gets worse. Oh my God. And
so Derek ends up getting killed too by Sutherland. Sutherland's still alive. He shoots Derek and kills him.
And then they get to the hospital scene, and that's right when my wife got home and gave me my dinner. And I'm starting to eat, and they're cracking a skull open.
Yeah, we're doing the autopsy on her.
Between the FBI agent and her superior. What's the FBI agent's name? I gotta get her name. But I really like her too. Right in between, they did a great shot of them like sucking the brain out and taking pictures, and I'm like eating tacos. I'm like, that was bad timing. Oh my God. And
that was.
Oh my God,
fairly bad timing.
No, that was crazy though, because I thought Joan. For one, I thought she was a great character. I'm really sorry she's dead. She, oh, because she was dark in her own right, and wow, that was a shocking death. That was a shocking death. Maybe she had to go film something else or something. I don't know. She's been in some other stuff, but
she's actually she's a model, so I'm pretty sure her commitments were needed elsewhere.
Really good. Those scenes between her and Tyrell, where they're speaking Swedish, is it? Swiss.
Yeah, Swiss.
Were it was so good. It was so foreign cinema. It was really cool.
So the FBI agent's name was Dominique DePero.
Dominique DePero, yeah, it's a Jersey girl, who is great. It was weird not having her. They focused on her so much in season 2. It was weird not having her in the first episode.
Yeah.
Because you almost feel like she's going to turn to Elliott's side at some point, but I don't know. I love that whole that just at the end of season 2, the Python approach, the whole scene with that song, the Moth to the Flame, and that was just beautiful. It was so good. So I'm like, my notes, I'm like, Christ, I'm eating dinner.
So then we have Zang meeting with
Phillip Price.
And they're talking about, well, actually Phillip Price is giving a speech, and he's talking about he's talking to a whole group of CEOs at a large meeting, and saying that the eCoin, by the way, if you haven't gotten it, get it. eCoin.
There was a nice little commercial for eCoin,
yes,
too.
There was a little eCoin commercial. So eCoin is now the coin of the land. It's been official. It now is what the U.S. currency is based on. And the world economy pretty much is based on eCoin, except for China. China decided that, no, we're going to go with Bitcoin instead.
Yep. And that's till they get the Congo. And this, conspiracy fans, is what you call problem reaction solution. So the whole thing, the F Society, was set up by E Corp in China, or the Dark Army. China. We're assuming they're the same thing right now. Maybe not.
No, they're probably separate, I'm thinking.
Well, they have elements in the government. Okay, so
yes.
They're probably separate. Just for, plausible deniability reasons, maybe. So they set the whole thing up, and this goes along with all all those 9/11 truthers out there and stuff. Like, the government created this situation so they could create the Patriot Act or something like that. That's a problem reaction solution. But a good conspiracy fan would know that. So so they have a little dick measuring contest, and it was the best scene in the show, though.
Yeah, Zang basically says to Phillip Price, he goes, you know what? If you can't get the UN to give us the Congo, we're not going to be switching over to eCoin. We're going to leave it at Bitcoin. And as he says, his very last line is, "Don't mistake my generosity for generosity."
For generosity. And
which is pretty evil.
Dude, what's the actor's DB Wong? Is that his name?
BD Wong. He's a San Francisco boy.
He is homeboy.
Yes.
Dude, he is growing. I mean, Rami Malek is the best thing in this, but he is the second best thing in this. He is amazing in both his parts. And I wonder if, well, I'm sure, you go into season 1 just never knowing what you're going to do with the show, but adding his character seemed to be, even in interviews, he said, I wasn't sure where I was going to my character. I wasn't sure if I was going to be in it more. But he just talked about why he took this role, and it's just, something to relish in. Because usually, let's face it, especially Asian Americans, sometimes they don't get the meatiest roles in Hollywood, we'll just say. Probably being pretty generous to Hollywood right there. And he was like, I finally got this, the first time I've got a meaty role in my life. And dude, he is just killing it, man.
Yeah.
Killing it. So he's good. And he's from San Francisco. Right on. That's cool.
Yeah. And it's kind of funny because this whole thing, you see later on, he's with his underling in the car, and they're talking about, well, he goes, even if the UN, he goes, either way, we're still going to go ahead with phase 2 and basically burn the world, kind of thing.
And even his assistant is surprised about that, and we don't find out why.
Yeah, he doesn't say why. He just says we're going to do it either way.
But that can go into our theory that like he really doesn't give a crap about this world. You know, even though that wasn't right White Rose at the time, he was Zang. We haven't seen White Rose yet. But that could all, you know, maybe he just doesn't have a care in the world for this world. Yeah, man.
And I'm going to mention this a little aside here. So, you know, we have scenes of Elliot traveling on the train, on, you know, underground. And at this point, we go back to him on the train. And it's kind of funny. Behind him, there's a little poster for a movie called Separation Anxiety, starring Will Ferrell and Judi Dench, excuse me, not Julie, Judy. And the silhouette is of a body holding a head, hence the separation anxiety, which actually kind of fits in with the theme of this whole show of not losing your head. Because
exactly. Now, are we sure this wasn't like a real movie?
It was not a real movie. It's just
okay. Yeah. Dude, you know, I don't follow Will Ferrell's career anymore, so you know.
Yeah, I haven't heard anything about anything like that, and it looks like something that they would do, you know, as a fake aside, which I thought was pretty funny. But we have Darlene meets up with Elliot out at Coney Island, and he's like, "What do you want?" And she's like, "Damn." She goes, "That's the way, you know, we're gonna meet." He goes, "Well, you essentially told me to fuck off." That's her words.
Yeah,
his words.
That's what the show said. YouTube.
Yes. And he says, "So, you know, I take it you didn't want to speak to me anymore." And she goes, "Well, I wanted to wish you a happy birthday." And we know that she's talking with the FBI now, and the FBI is pressuring her to get information. Basically, what they want from her is they want confirmation that Elliot and Tyrell have been talking. They already know that Tyrell had called Elliot from prison at one point.
Yeah, because they had it recorded, because they record prison conversations.
Mm-hmm.
You know, yeah. So the first episode, we didn't really know that Darlene sold her brother out, but I mean, we figured. You know, it wasn't that. It's pretty obvious. By the way, Separation Anxiety is a movie with John Wesley Shipp, the original Flash from the 90s.
So he basically, and by the way, Elliot is having the loneliness has come back. So the Zoloft is not working, and it's come back even harder. It's actually really just kind of crushing him. And Darlene has said that she's leaving. She's going to go to upstate New York. She's getting out. She doesn't like where everything's going. And Elliot tells her, "Well, why don't you stay with me for the night, and then you can leave in the morning?" He says, "Because I don't want to be alone tonight."
Yep. And she knew he was going to do that. I mean, she knows her brother.
Yeah.
And sold him out. She did something. She basically set it up so the FBI mirrored his computer.
They can see everything on his screen.
And then you talked about how Darlene triggers Mr. Robot too. Like that she's one of his triggers. So
yeah, we already know that Mr. Robot shows up when Elliot falls asleep.
Yes,
pretty much. And so when she is putting this little thing on his monitor, Elliot is supposedly asleep. Obviously, he's not, because Mr. Robot is watching. So he confronts her.
Yeah, he confronts her. So like, that's supposed to be his daughter. So this blows the whole theory that like it's really Elliot's dad. It could be something else, or an Elliot's dad from somewhere else who doesn't give a shit, or just a part of Elliot's persona. I mean,
it could be that she doesn't exist in his universe either.
Yeah, and that was the other thing I wrote down when the loneliness came back. And this is a theory. Again, this is a bad theory, and I just hope it's not the case, but I'm going to put it out there anyway. That what if Elliot is alone? What if it's like the Rick in Walking Dead theory, where he's in a coma from being pushed out of the window and he's just creating this world, and nothing is real, and he is truly alone, and that's why the loneliness is so empty. But I don't know, loneliness is a real thing too, and people, depression, and so I don't know. I'm just throwing it out there. It's not a theory I like at all, really. And if they went down that route, I think it would be kind of disappointing or it'd be really disappointing, to be honest with you. But yeah, and now Elliot gets his dog back. He got the dog back.
Well, let's Darlene is confronting Mr. Robot there, and actually he's confronting her, I should say, and says, "What are you doing behind the monitor? I saw what you were doing behind the monitor. What are you doing here?" And he's basically just grilling her, and she finally realizes who he is. So she's dealt with him before, and this was when we just realized that she came back in the last year only in his life, basically to be with him.
That's
So there's and there's something weird going on there as well. We don't know exactly what's going on. And also, I forgot this part as well. We had a new F Society video that came out that was released on the same Vimeo channel that Darlene had been releasing on. And she thinks that it's the Dark Army that's basically doing this, and that Cisco has given the password to the Dark Army, or they've hacked into it at some point.
Yeah, we haven't seen Cisco at all at this point, so we don't know.
Well, Cisco's dead.
Also, she brought up when they talked about the birthday, he brought up the Snowman to her, and remember she said, "Yeah, do you want to talk about that?" The Kevin McAllister Snowman. So they brought it up twice in this episode, so it leads me to believe there was something way more. And you too, we both agreed on this, that it's something way more to him just getting pushed out the window. I mean, a dad would not just push his kid out a window. At first, it was supposed to be like an accident, right? Like he just pushed him away, but he pushed him accidentally too hard and pushed him out the window. It's starting to sound like it's something way more serious than that. So, we also, we got a full flashback on this in season 1, going to the hospital and everything. God, I'm gonna have to go back, and I'm sure somebody else will remember who's got a better, doesn't have a Swiss cheese brain from all the drugs in the 80s like me, who remembers if the therapist knew about that or not. Please comment away. So
it's never mentioned in her therapy sessions with him about being pushed out the window.
Okay.
Because
I trust your memory.
Yeah, the only time we actually talk about that is when he gets pushed off the railing at Coney Island.
Yep.
And that's what triggers the memory of being pushed out the window. And he never mentions it to Krista, or Krista never mentions it to him during any of the sessions.
That's weird. But God, that would have to come out. So I still think it's a weird thing.
That'd be a major thing. Yeah.
Yeah. So, dog comes back. That was pretty random. But the world's going to hell, and I guess the dog's sick and crapping everywhere. So Elliot takes the dog in. It's good to see the dog back, but that's where that one goes. And that's pretty much it. That was the episode, right? I mean, I'm trying to think of
Mr. Robot, of course. He's still. He has something up his sleeve to still get phase 2 rolling again. We don't know exactly what, but there's something going on.
There's something way more to phase 2, and we will find out as the season progresses. But that was a tight episode. A
lot of information, a lot of stuff,
a lot of information, and I'm used to binge watching this show. This is the first time I've kind of watched it week by week. So it's tough. It's tough to do that, man. Yeah. But damn, it was just freaking great. It was a great show. Now, like we said earlier in the podcast, it furthered our theory that I think there's that would be a cool direction for the show to take, like a Matrix-y, Fight Club. It's and that's how the show kind of can't talk. The show was sold in the beginning. That's probably even what the pitch was just imagine Matrix meets the Fight Club meets Occupy, and usually I'm not a big fan of current event shows because it dates the show, and I don't know, one of my prerequisites for something to become classic, is timelessness, and that's unless it's a period piece, but you don't want to date yourself. But the way they're doing it here, I mean, I don't know how this show is going to play in 10 years. Probably not very well, anything, but it seems to be a cut above your normal topical shows. Well, it is a few cuts above your normal topical shows. So yeah, and originally we talked about maybe this will get a few 3 or 4 seasons. I can see this going for a long time because I think it's just starting to. It's a lot like Game of Thrones, which it was like season 3 and 4 when it hit the stratosphere, and I think this show's ready to hit the stratosphere because let's face it, there's always the sophomore jinx, and a lot of shows season 2 makes or breaks you, and it had its slow period, and the ending did kind of piss some people off last year, but like these 2 episodes have like made it all make sense, and
it's just ramping up. I mean, it's going full bore. I mean, it's not letting up. That's the nice thing about it. It's the exact opposite of season 2.
Yeah, no, it's way more fast paced. But the thing is, it doesn't feel like season 2 ended. It feels like it just continued. Other than the actual time, if you binge watch this, it'll feel really cohesive. At least that's what it seems to me. And please tell us what you think. Please throw your theories up in the comments. We will take a look. I don't know if anybody's even commented yet, but I will go take a gander at this and mute myself because I don't want to hear myself. And there is a bit of a delay. And yeah, I don't see any comments. So it's no. Hey, there's Brian. Brian says, what are you feeling about Rami Malek portraying Freddie Mercury in the undercover? Oh, dude,
it's actually awesome. They've been releasing a few things of him singing, and Brian, who's the other member of Queen? The other famous member of Queen, Brian. I'm blanking on his name. Thank you. He was standing off stage at the Hollywood Bowl.
A theater, or is that going to be in theaters?
It's a movie. Yeah,
it's a movie. All right.
Yeah, and it's about Freddie Mercury's life, and it was their Hollywood Bowl performance, and he was standing off stage watching Malek do this, and just saying, "Holy shit!" He just relived that entire concert.
So he's singing.
He's singing. Yes.
Whoa,
he's got teeth in. He's got false teeth in to give, because Freddie Mercury had those big choppers.
Well, yeah, and he would refuse to get them fixed because he was worried they would mess with his voice. Hey,
and it looks like him. It's just freaky.
Why is Queen special to this podcast? Because we don't do it anymore because we don't get copyright strikes. But we have theme music. If you go back and listen to some of our audio stuff, we use the Battle from the Flash Gordon soundtrack that's our theme song. If I could find a way around the copyright strikes, usually I speed it up a little bit. Maybe I'll throw it in the next podcast and see if we get popped or not. But yeah, that's, that right before we started this podcast, we're like, what do we need for a theme song? We did, and Dennis said Flash Gordon soundtrack or something from that. I'm like, okay, that's good. Yeah, that's good. That is great to hear. And I'm not I don't know. There is 2 biopics I loved, and they're both music. It's Straight Outta Compton and The Doors. Love The Doors. So yeah, man. Yeah. So please, when this stream is over, it'll turn into a regular video. Please comment away when we get back to you. I'm actually going to answer the comments from last episode because I don't get a ton of time to do that. Oh, Brian, they leaked a picture of him in costume. It looks good. I will check it out, Brian, when I right after this podcast. I got to do some business here. We're going to throw all of our links in the description. We have Twitter, but we do want to point out that our home is nerdrotic.com, and that's where we put all of our videos and podcasts and sometimes special content. We're pretty much focusing on YouTube right now. We did start a Patreon account. It's got no tiers yet. We're working on them, but we're basically going to have kind of a loot crate deal. So each level, you're going to get stuff sent to you. It's kind of a mystery box, and it's going to have comics, action figures, magazines. We'll eventually do a Nerdrotic sticker and t-shirt and throw that in there too. Lots of fun stuff, but you'll get your money's worth. Like whatever you put on the page, put on the Patreon, you'll get more than your money's worth. I promise that, because I'm not the biggest fan of e-begging, but this stuff, actually, this takes a lot of time out of my life. And Dennis's too, and John's too. We actually put a ton of work in this, but it's a lot
more out of his life than mine. I know that because he edits everything. So, and I appreciate it. because
Oh, thanks. Yeah. But I mean, dude, especially when we do it live, man, it's just all we have to do is throw it up there. Yeah, man. We got some more comments here. How is the only person watching this live? I'm not the watcher. You got it, man. Oh, dude, we're not going anywhere. Oh, you like the wall of action? Yeah, that is that is what's left over. It's my expressionist art in my room. It actually surrounds me. I flipped the side. I don't know if anybody noticed, but I flipped the sides. I'm rearranging my podcast room. So this is what's left over from my comic store. And it was in my father-in-law's storage and crap I forgot that's in the basement of my house. So yeah, so I just decided to pin everything to the walls. It scares our company when they come over a little bit, but I don't care. I live this shit, man.
No one wants to sleep in that room.
Nobody wants to sleep. And it's what was the last earthquake? With the Napa earthquake 3 years ago, only 3 action figures fall down. So I'm proud of my securing of the action figures there. So, Dennis, any final words on this great show?
Don't let the door hit your ass on the way out, America.
May the small folks sing songs of your greatness, and we will see you all next week. And our next podcast will be the news. It will be our news podcast. That'll be out tomorrow.
Sweet.
All right, man. Let me get back to there real quick. Oh, I just totally lost where we were because I was looking at the comments. All right, so warts and all, everybody. Everyone. Good night.